I'm joined by Christina Eanes, based just outside of Washington, D.C. in the US. Christina is a former FBI violent crime analyst and senior manager. She's now an author, speaker, podcast and YouTube channel host, as well as a self-improvement guru. Christina specialises in super achieving and is on a mission to help others achieve more in life, mainly by getting out of their own way. She currently does this through her books, podcast series, professional development courses, and keynote speeches. Christina worked on an array of programs, including the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension program and the FBI's Leadership Development program, where she trained thousands of leaders. After advancing to a senior management position within the FBI before turning 40, Christina decided to open up her own business to help transform people's personal and professional lives. Christina has authored 3 books, developed a catalogue of courses, and hosts a robust YouTube channel. Christina's other publications include Quit Bleeping Around, 77 Secrets to Super Achieving, and The Secret to Super Productivity. So, Christina, with that introduction in mind, welcome to this special episode, The Secret to Super Productivity.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So I've kind of introduced you, but tell people a bit about you. We have done a previous episode on the Career Success podcast where we talked in depth about what you've done. We're going to kind of get stuck straight into the secret of super productivity, but tell us a bit about you in brief for people that haven't maybe listened to that episode before. I know I've introduced you though.
Oh, yes. So I am an escape room addict. I think that's like one of the main things in my life. Love escape rooms. I play tennis. I have 2 kids in their mid-20s, and I'm just loving life.
And tell us then, so you've become a guru of all things super productivity. How did you kind of get the experience to be in this place of masses of knowledge and writing the book on the topic before we kind of go into it? Where's this all kind of come from?
Oh, so first off, when I opened up my own business and became an entrepreneur, I started doing things that I know and love, right? Which is professional development of folks, emotional intelligence, coaching, feedback, leadership development, all of that stuff. And then when I started looking at, okay, I want to publish a book, right? I want to publish several books, but I started thinking about what comes naturally to me that perhaps others have some struggles with. That was some great advice that I received, actually, is to think about that. And it was hard to think about it because, when something comes naturally to you, it's hard to realize that other people may have trouble with it. But then I thought back to my elementary school days when I would get all my work done and then I would go around and annoy everybody else in the classroom. And it's like, that's been like a theme throughout my life. Like when I was with the FBI, I would do 30 to 40 reports a month when the other analysts were doing 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 maybe. So I'm thinking, okay, there's a theme here. What is this about?
I'm guessing your pay wasn't reflective of that, of your increased workload.
Of course not. And that's why I decided to become an entrepreneur, so that I would be the only thing in the way of my paycheck. But anyway, so I realized that it wasn't that I managed my time well, it's that I managed my energy well. So I started essentially studying myself and then interviewing others who were also high achievers and high performers and able to get a lot of stuff done in a little bit of time. And that's where I came up with the secret to super productivity.
And I'm just going to kind of drill down on that point there, because there's so many books out there and people think the secret to, not everybody, but a lot of people think the secret to being great at what you do or getting through loads of stuff is time management. And you said there, energy.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that, because that's an interesting concept. And a lot of people think the secret is good time management. What's the difference?
Huge. And this is why you can get a what is that book, 4-hour work week or something?
Someone mentioned that actually yesterday, the 4-hour work week, on a different podcast that I did. I still haven't read this book, and it's interesting that you've just brought it up.
There's a sign. No,
there is. I need to read it immediately.
It's been a long time since I've read that, but so I can't remember the specifics on it. But the idea is that there's 24 hours in a day, right? But you cannot be productive for 24 hours in a day, right?
Of course not. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So sure, manage your time well. That it's important to do that. However, if you don't have the energy to do what you need to do, It doesn't matter how well you manage your time. You're not going to get anything done,
Well,
right?
that makes total sense. It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. So it's about essentially harnessing your energy, because when you are harnessing your energy in the most efficient way possible, I mean, for example, I worked 2 hours this morning and I got everything I needed done on my to-do list, basically for the next couple of days. So I'll even be able to do more tomorrow when I have more energy. But by harnessing
Mm.
it effectively, you're able to get that much more done. And then that frees up the rest of your time to do things you want.
And it's interesting you say that, because I work for myself, and sometimes I feel like I have to be in the office between these pre-prescribed hours because this is the day. And I do appreciate I do a lot of management of people, but
Uh-huh.
I can sometimes get through all my work in just a couple of hours. That doesn't always happen. That's probably not always the case. But I understand what you're saying, and then I kind of feel like I've hit that lull where I want to move on to something else. And I think what you say about energy is exactly correct, but not many people seem to look at it like that.
Yeah, it's a shift in perspective. And
Mm.
so the system actually has 3 different steps. So it's first knowing what your natural energy fluctuations are on any given day, and understanding that they change and they adjust, based on different things, right? But kind of understanding your baseline essentially.
And how do you understand that? How do you, is that kind of an inner feeling, or?
So with the system that I created, it fits different personality types. So some people like to document how they are each hour of the day. Others, it's just more of an awareness of how they're doing at each hour.
Mm.
But what I recommend is people essentially observe themselves for 2 weeks and check in every
Oh.
hour and see what their energy levels are. And
How
it's
do you do it? What's
so
your method?
now that I have put a system around it, I use awareness, but there's even like a whole worksheets that you can use for depending on the different individuals. But I use it more intuitively now because it's just become part of my regular thing.
And I can imagine, being an analyst, you are analytical, and probably when you first started this, it was more of a documented type activity.
Yeah, self-observation, essentially. And it's highly technical. There are 4 levels of energy, and I'm being a brat right now. No, no,
Oh no,
but
please. We've kind of delved straight into now the secret of super productivity.
there we go.
Yes, I think we're into it now.
Yeah.
We're going in a flow. Although I haven't properly said we're into it. We're
Oh,
into
all
it,
good.
Christina.
I
Please
meant
carry on.
all good. Yeah, no, I meant I'm being sarcastic on the highly technical
Oh
part.
no, no, I'm gripped. I want to hear. I want to hear about the 4 energy levels. Please share
Awesome.
this with us.
So there's and it's subjective, but super productive. So that's when you feel like you can easily reach the state of flow, right? Where you look up and time is like, wow, 2 hours have passed. I got so much done. So that's where
Mm.
you are able to tackle anything that comes your way, and you're enthusiastic and you're just bursting full of energy.
That's all 6 cylinders are firing.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
So that's super productive. That's level 4. Level 3 is productive. So you're getting stuff done, but you're not like bursting with energy. Meh, right? Getting it done.
Mm.
Level 2 is, I termed it the meh level.
Yeah,
It's
no, yeah, I think that's a good description.
yeah. So it's like you're able to do stuff, but you don't want to think about it, right? So it may be those activities that it's like when I put together like training materials, right? It's stuff, it doesn't require thought. I can still do things, but it's not requiring my conscious attention. And
Right.
then,
Okay.
yeah, and then there's zombie level. And that's where the lights are on, but nobody's home. This is like your Netflix binge mode.
Mm.
Mine anyway.
No, it's exactly mine as well. I think
Yeah.
that, and when you spend too much time in the 6 cylinder mode, level 4, you can find
Yep.
yourself very quickly in zombie land.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't harness it correctly. Right. So that's that. And then of course, just being unconscious, like hopefully because you're sleeping, that's level 0.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept.
So the first step then is awareness of what is your baseline. So technically, I would say typically I'm in super productive mode in the morning, and then I have a slump right after lunch, and then I kick back up into maybe productive mode. But then after 4 or 5 p.m., I'm I'm not worth anything.
It's quite weird though, because I'm completely the opposite. In the morning, I would say I'm probably between 9 to 10 on level 2, and then I sort of accelerate into the afternoon. And
Yeah.
my most productive time, level 4, for me is in the afternoon. And I'm
Hey.
guessing it's different for everyone.
Yes. Yep. And that's why it's awareness of, that person's, whatever their natural energy levels are. And what I have with the system is if people want to actually like identify and add up the numbers, there's like a number that you have on a typical day, like mine's 42. So it's
Oh,
just awareness of that. And it's completely subjective. Like your number could be 60 or 25. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not a competition, right? It's just that's your baseline.
is the higher the level, the more productive you are,
Yeah.
in theory.
Well,
Right.
the more you're harnessing your energy, essentially, because step 2 is you have your baseline, but think of it as like a budget that you get every day. You
Uh-huh.
can manipulate it a little bit. So step 2 is mind your ECs, and your ECs are your energy consumers and your energy creators. So
Mm,
those are things that each of us have that either give us energy or take our energy away. So for me, what gives me energy, and for most people, is good self-care, right? Proper nutrition, exercise, sleep. That's like the number one for everyone. But there's other things too. Positive emotions, they bring us energy. And it's just awareness of that, right? They bring us energy. Routines and systems, we're able to conserve energy the more we put in routines and systems. That's why we have like a daily routine for getting ready, so we don't have to think about it. It doesn't take up mental energy for us. So those would be energy
mm,
creators, right? And then energy consumers. For most people, negative emotions would they take away our energy. It drains us more. And it's not
mm,
saying that we should never have negative emotions. It's just being aware of when you're going through something, give yourself more space and don't push yourself too much
mm.
because it's going to take away your energy.
I completely, everything you're saying is really resonating with me. I think things like anxiety, that they're
Yes.
draining. They take
Yep.
up a lot of energy, and you feel tired.
Yeah.
When you're going through these kind of emotions. I say that as someone who has suffered anxiety for
Yeah.
most of my life, and I know that that definitely puts me into category 1, or
Yes.
level 1, when I'm going through those kind of emotions. So I relate to what you're saying there about the self-care. It's
Yeah.
not simply a cup of coffee is going to put you into turbo mode level 4.
Exactly. Exactly, right? But it's knowing what those are for each of us individually. So we each have, so while there are some that are universal, like for example, energy consumer, we all have one, maybe two, hopefully not more than that, people in our lives that are energy vampires. Like you spend 10 minutes with them and you're just exhausted.
Mood hoovers, I call them.
Yes, mood hoovers. I love it. Yes. So that would be an example of an energy consumer, right? So part of that assessment period is we're identifying, okay, what brings us energy and what takes away energy, and what brings us energy in a healthy way. So, like, I know sometimes there's get that mid afternoon slump, and there's that temptation to reach for the candy bar. And realizing that if you do, while you may get energy created for 15 minutes, you're also going to be it's actually more of an energy consumer because you're going to nosedive after that initial burst of energy. So it's being really aware of that. What gives us energy, what takes it away. And then the final step is essentially plan accordingly. If you're able to completely control your schedule, whatever you have. So first off, I look at my task list every day and I assign an energy level to it. So today I actually,
Mm.
yeah, I know. So today I had, what I do? I had to create a course which would require level 4 energy for me. I wanted to
Mhm.
be level 4 energy for you, right? So I
Oh,
looked
well,
at,
thank you so much. Me and everyone listening to that really, really appreciate that. So thank
oh,
you.
so, well, on a typical day, then what you would do is schedule out your level 4 tasks when you're at level 4 energy, your level 3 tasks when you're at level 3 energy. And I save those like lower level tasks for when I'm not at full energy. But see, here's the thing when we feel like we're on top of the world and we're just full of energy, our tendency is to want to push off that hard thing from our list and get done the 20 easy things because we can get through them quickly. right? But what we
Mm.
have to do is force ourselves to get through that level 4. I can't tell you how many times I sat this morning and I started on that workbook and I was like, oh no, but I could do this, and this. No, get back, Chris. Focus on it. Because I knew that if I tried to work on that course this afternoon, that I wouldn't do it justice.
I can see from what you're saying why, when you first started this, you would need to record it and write it, because and I can see how it can, in time, work like anything,
Yeah.
become a habit, and it seems to me like it's very much a default way of thinking for you now.
Yeah. Yeah. You do have to adjust and turn it into a habit of the way that you think about
I
things.
think it's such an incredible way of thinking about things, and but because one thing that popped into my mind when you were saying it is social activities. People can abuse themselves in level 4 as well as be productive in level 4, or am I
Oh,
just,
yeah.
if you're putting in and burning the candle at both ends, and you're going out and having a wild time on a Saturday night in level 4 mode, that is going to deplete some of level 4
Yes.
when you need it during the week.
Yes, yes, it is. Which,
Right.
which is along those lines. So that's if we can completely control our schedule, right? We do those level 4 activities, events, meetings, etc. when we're in level 4. But oftentimes we can't, right? Just that. So like now, normally at this time, I'm like in level 2, but I knew I needed to be at level 4 for, because I wanted to be. Then I adjusted my day. So actually, right before you and I started talking, I was chilling out when I normally would be trying to fit in a lot of other stuff. So it's
Mm.
adjusting. So for example, as much as you can, eliminate energy consumers. So I had a healthy lunch, and then I just sat and I actually just watched a couple of shows on Netflix.
Well, that sounds like a beautiful way to start the day. And I do agree with you, because even today I was very aware that I had a naughty lunch, and that definitely put me into probably level 2.5,
Uh-huh.
if 2.5 is such a thing.
Yeah,
Um,
it can be whatever you want it to be.
yeah. So I and self care is very important, and it's, the way you talk, it's very much an entrepreneur's way of thinking. It's, there's so many hours in the day. I've got all these different things to do, and to be productive. And I think you make a really good point with the self care. It's not enough just to be present if you're not looking after yourself, and that's over the last kind of year I've put a really big focus on that. But it's because I fell into the trap, Christina, of running my business, not looking after myself, working all hours of the day, and then finding myself getting very unwell. And
Yeah.
I think that's a trap many people fall into, and they say, oh, I just don't have the time for this, or I just don't have the time for that. Actually, now, by giving myself this time for the self-care, it's allowed me to be in better levels, but actually I'm getting more work done, working less hours. So it's
Yes.
very true.
Yes, it is. And you know what I like, and I can't claim this as my own, and I can't remember where I heard it, but anytime I hear someone say, I don't have enough time, I actually ask them to replace that with, it's not a priority. Like
Mm.
instead of, I don't have enough time to eat a nutritious lunch, it's not a priority to eat a nutritious lunch. And you know
And
what?
that's a
Sometimes,
flick in the switch. That's like
yeah, it is, isn't it?
well, no, it is a priority. Of course, having a healthy
Yeah.
lunch is a priority.
Well, and sometimes, like you want to go out and have fun with friends and be level 4, all Saturday evening or whatever. Just realize that, well, first of all, adjust, right? Adjust how you're going to be the next day, knowing that you just won't be as productive. So I think what it also brings is intense awareness of how our choices, our life choices, the consequences that come from those. And sometimes it's okay. Have, a couple of drinks if that's what you want to do. Just realize that you're choosing what comes after that, right?
Yeah, and when you're saying this, I'm kind of aware that I think I even practice this, but not in a way where I'm putting a number on things. But I
Yeah,
know that if I've got a difficult task in the afternoon, I'm not going to put in a massively difficult task in the morning.
there you
So
go.
maybe I'm doing it, but
Yeah.
subconsciously.
Yeah, that's it. And just bringing more awareness to it, right? So you can use the system at whatever level you want intuitively.
Mhm.
right? With like what you've been doing with maybe just a little bit of more awareness, up to if someone wants to, I know some people like to do that. I don't, by like planning out hour by hour, energy level by energy level. It just helps for an awareness. Like I know if I'm going to be teaching, say, 2 workshops in a day, when I'm not at my high level, I'm not going to, what I normally would do is put in a couple hours work before that first workshop. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to relax. I'm going to give myself permission to maybe play some games on my iPad and just have a nice breakfast and a relaxing time instead of trying to fit in 2 to 3 hours of work before I go into workshops for 6 to 8 hours.
A workshop definitely
Yeah.
sounds like level 4.
Yeah. So it's almost gives you permission too to take that downtime, knowing that you're going to be, for lack of a term, banking up that energy to use when you absolutely need to be on.
And do you think that's kind of the real key to being super productive, is it all evolves around this, or is there kind of other
Yes.
elements as well?
No, I think that's it's awareness of your energy. Well, and once it's almost like too. I liken it to. Have you ever heard of like the cash, the envelope system for budgeting?
No.
So I can't remember when I was younger. Who was it? The Total Money Makeover. I cannot remember the guy's name, but he had developed a system where when it's for budgeting. So you put different envelopes, like one for food, one for rent, one for car or entertainment or whatever, and you put your cash in each of those envelopes each month. And then once that envelope, the money is spent, the money is spent. You can't you can't spend any more money on that part. So it reminds me kind
Oh.
of that, like, right. I have this amount of energy in the envelope that I can use today. How do I best want to spend it? So it kind of turns it more into that. So naturally you're going to manage your time a little better because you realize that your energy is a commodity, right? That
Hmm.
yeah, it's something that you need to budget.
I kind of use this way of looking at relationships, but it really kind of, I think, applies to this system as well. I always say about, depositing and withdrawing from a relationship. You get,
Exactly.
when you get someone who just wants to withdraw in whatever way that is, emotionally or listening, and the scales aren't balanced, that's when, a relationship tends to fail. And
Yeah.
it's I guess it's very similar to this. You can do things that are going to deposit energy. The most obvious one being sleep, exercise, eating healthy, but there's the list probably just goes on and on and on and on and on with things
Exactly.
that do deposit. But
Yeah.
I think that what we always do, and I think so many entrepreneurs are guilty of this, is we focus so much on the withdrawing side and not being kind to ourselves, and then especially when you're running a business, and then that's when you really run into problems. And I think because there's so many books about, and I was saying this earlier about time management, but this the principle you've got here, you were the first ever person who told me about this, and I would like to think that I'm fairly educated when it comes to different methods. But why is it that this isn't, why is it that not many people seem to think like this? Or maybe they do and I'm just not aware that it is a big thing. I don't know, you tell me, Christine.
Well, and every time I've talked about this, people are like, "Oh, that makes sense," right? So it's almost like it's there, but I don't know, like it doesn't come up to the awareness portion of it. And then in today's society, we've developed so many stories over how we need to just organize our time better, forgetting that essentially our bodies are vehicles and we need to make sure that they have enough gas and they're well maintained so that we can continue on that trip.
Do you think modern technology is making it easier to run this system, or do you think it's actually working to the detriment of people always being connected to a mobile phone or whatever? Because it seems to me like this system does involve a lot of self discipline.
Yes. Yeah. Great question. Because actually, I think people's use of technology is a detriment to it. One of the top 3 energy consumers that I found when I was doing research for the book were distractions, and mainly technology distractions. So,
Mm.
as hard as it is, I will keep my phone away from me. When I'm doing some downtime, or if I am, because multitasking, which actually doesn't really exist, is part of the distractions, because it's our brain switching back and forth between two. Okay, consciously focusing on 2 different tasks at the same time. our brain has to switch back and forth. It can't focus on both of them at the same time. So that
Mm.
takes up more energy. So that goes along the lines with technology. So for example, we're having an online meeting. We may, which we wouldn't do in person, right? We'd be constantly checking our email, maybe looking at Facebook or social media while we're in a meeting.
Mm.
That completely drains our energy versus if we were completely focused in the meeting, paying attention.
Mm. I
Yeah.
agree. What do
Yeah.
you do personally to what's your kind of, because maybe this might help other people. What do you do to deposit energy? What's your kind of routine?
Oh, so definitely throughout the day, I eat small meals,
Oh,
healthy
right.
meals throughout the day. Of course, I have that glass of wine at night, but throughout the
Well, the
day,
fact you're saying a glass, that's
yeah,
better
not
than
a
a bottle,
bottle.
and that's very self-disciplined because I know that when one glass is poured, it is very easy to move on to glass two.
Yes, yeah. Well, and now in my late 40s, that second glass tends to, for some reason, wake me up every 2 hours at night, and I am a stickler about my sleep. So sleep would
Mm.
be the other one, and then I need like physical exercise. Like I've played intense tennis. Well, I will be playing intense tennis 4 times this week, and then of course hitting the gym a couple
Wow.
of times. But that's what my body needs. So it's awareness of what your body needs, right? So some people, yoga, some people prefer yoga more. It's more like a calmer type sport. Some people, it's just whatever
You put
moves
me
our
into a
body.
yoga room. It's absolute hell. I've tried it and it just does not. I would love to love it because I think it's so relaxing. But I've tried it a few times, and try
Yeah,
and put me in one of those postures, and it's just not happening. But
yeah. I
like,
I relate. That's why I don't like
I'm a
yoga.
sweaty mess, and they're saying all these breathing exercises, and I'm just like,
I'm gonna pass
get me
out
out
here.
of here now. It's not happening. But no, I think it sounds to me like I was wondering if there was any secret nuggets there. But I think lots of these things you're saying, it makes sense. But I think
Yeah,
that
a
what you
lot of it's
say,
common sense,
it is common
really.
sense, but
Yeah,
I think the one point that you really make is about self awareness, and I think
yeah,
I've become very self aware, but I think that's only something that I've become aware of in. I think it's something that happens with age a bit more as well. I think it's about knowing yourself, and it seems to. It took me a good few years to become. I thought I was self-aware, but then now I look back and I think, well, actually, no, I wasn't really self-aware. I was kind of driving in autopilot, and autopilot
yeah,
isn't healthy. Well,
yeah.
for a machine it works, but not for a human. You need to be aware of your emotions and how you're feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Self awareness can come with age, but it is more so with intention, right? Being because I
Mm.
know some individuals that could really use more self awareness, and they're not young, right? So
Right.
yeah, so with intention it comes, but it can come a little more naturally maybe as we get older because we have more to look at, more to know ourselves about.
Exactly, I agree. If people want to, I think this has been a really fascinating conversation, and I think that what you've said about energy really resonates with me, and I thank you for giving me the awareness. But if people
Oh,
want to find out more about this, and they want to delve deeper into these kind of principles and this way of the system that you have, where can they go to find out more?
wow, thank you for asking. So I just put everything now under ChristinaEanes.com. So all of my resources are under there. They can find the secret to super productivity there.
Great. Christina, this has been a fascinating conversation, and thank you for taking part on this special episode, The Secret to Super Productivity. You've really simplified it, and I think that's been absolutely very helpful.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
That's Christina Eanes from just outside of Washington, D.C. I'm Jason Connolly. This was a special episode of the Career Success Podcast. Until next time, goodbye.